And we're primarily recording it so that we can share this with other providers who might come late or might not be able to hop on for whatever emergency reasons or unforeseen circumstances. I want to welcome to our meeting Ms. Storm Webb from our NECPA Accreditation Association. She's going to help us kind of map out what it looks like in terms of self-study and pacing ourselves as we get through each process and each step of this wonderful opportunity we have. So thank you, Ms. Storm, for being with us today. We really, really appreciate it. Go ahead, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Very nice to meet everybody who's able to join today. My name is Storm Webb. I serve as the Executive Director for the National Early Childhood Program Accreditation, or NECPA, or NESPA, however you say it sounds great. NECPA is how we'll answer the phone. I also am the Executive Director for our sister organization, the National Child Care Association. So together we do accreditation. We have 2 credentials, one for administrators and one for teachers. And then NCCA does our advocacy arm. So if you're interested in learning more, we'll have lots of resources all sprinkled out throughout today's presentation. I met with Sarah earlier. She gave me kind of a high-level overview of what you'd like to review today, but really this is your meeting. So if there's something in particular, that you would like to focus on, that's what I would like to do for you. So, Miss Jocelyn, Mr. Lamaricio, did I say that right? I hope.
Yes.
Good. I'd love to learn a little bit about you guys and see what your hope for today's goals are so that we can fulfill that for you. Miss Jocelyn, I see you're unmuted. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm with From the Beginning Home Daycare here in Huntsville, Alabama. Just reopened in 22. So just hitting my 2-year mark again. Initially opened up in 2010. But I'm looking more so, like I said, going over the information and understanding what I need to do to partner with you all, so that I can provide the best service for the children in my care.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Mr. Mauricio?
Hello.
We can kind of hear you. I'm so sorry. It sounds like it's coming in and out, but feel free if that connection gets better to unmute and make sure we're touching on anything you'd like to address today. All right. I'm going to go ahead and perfect chat. Thank you. Awesome. Can everybody see the screen okay? I figure what I'll do is run through this presentation, which we use quite often during like an orientation session. This takes about 45 minutes to go through in its entirety. So if you prefer, what I can do is just highlight the high-level areas that Sarah and I discussed earlier. Sarah, what's the best plan for you? How does that sound?
I think that's great. That's a good way to start.
Okay, perfect. And I've provided Sarah with the PDF copy of this, so you have this as a resource. If anything, you're like, what did she say on slide 13? You don't have to memorize it. It'll all be there for your use as well as this recording. I'm gonna go ahead and stop my video because I got new bangs and I just keep wanting to do the Bieber hair flip, so I don't want to make you suffer through that. So I'll go ahead and stop it now. But if you have any questions as we go through this, please feel free to chat them to myself and Sarah, or just, stop me, unmute, ask anything that I can further clarify for you, okay? All right. So we have a tight team of 4 for our accreditation. We have contractors and verifiers all throughout the country, though, specifically working in regions to help support visits as well as trainings that we do. Just a brief overview of our team. Who is NECPA? We'll skip this because it's just history about us, and I welcome you to learn more about us, but let's go ahead and we'll focus in on what does it mean to go through the accreditation. So what I'd like to start off with is just common terms, and these you can find in the beginning of both of the books that we sent you. I'm going to use a couple terms interchangeably, books or manuals or instrument. So we have the standards book, which is our standards book and resource guide, and that guy looks like this. It's the horizontally bound book. So standards book and resource guide. Self-assessment instrument, or SAI, and that's the vertically bound book. The full list of accreditation terms is on page 4 of the standards book or page 8 of the self-assessment instrument. But those are the two things we're going to talk about today and how they work together. So you should have received this in the mail, but we also have a downloadable copy of this material. So everything, any resource we discussed today, there'll be a QR code in here and you can download it to your tablet or follow the link, share it with yourself. You can go to the website right now, download it for free. And I was saying to Sarah before everybody joined, my favorite way to go through the standards, if even myself have a question or want to make sure I'm given the right information, is to use that PDF copy and Control F and find things specific to my keywords or support call that I might be going through. So the standards book is where pretty much everything lives, right? It's encompassing of what does the standard mean? What are the requirements? We put it all into a nice table to organize it better, more smoothly for you to go through and navigate, eat the elephant one bite at a time. It's broken down into 14 chapters, which are all grouped together by type. So supervision, behavior management, health and safety, playground, facility maintenance, teacher-child interaction, infant care, they're all together. So if you wanted to focus in on one aspect of your program at a time, you can do that by chapter. So the standards book, all the numbered standards are together within that book. It also has their resource guide, which has 3 sections to it. Section 1 goes through the accreditation process. So a lot of the things I'm discussing with you today, you have that all in section 1 of that resource guide, this horizontally bound book. Section 2 goes through the documentation portion of your in-person assessment called verification. So section 2 of the resource guide talks about what policies do you need to have. It gives you oodles of resources for an overview of what you need to do and what you have to get ready in terms of policy. So anything to do with logs, any piece of paper or encompassing procedure to back up the good work you're doing in the classroom. And that leads us to section 3, so observation of the resource guide. Again, it just breaks down some checklists, things to help you understand, okay, when the verifier comes, at a glance, give me an understanding of what an observation means. So it walks you through several resources dedicated to observation. So understanding the standards book itself. So we've just gone through what the resource guide is, that opening 20 pages to the standards book. And then the rest of the I think it's like 90 pages for the standards book itself consists of this type of a chart. So the chart encompasses what the number of the standard is. So column 1, when you call or you have a particular question, we'll say, okay, can you give us the standard number? And that's just a helpful resource for us to give you better guidance. The second column talks about the specific criteria. So what are the expectations? What are the things that need to be met in order to meet that particular standard? And then we try to give you some guidance. So column 3 talks about what it is we're looking for on the day of your visit or an ongoing action in your classroom. So if you needed to update your daily playground inspection log to have that ready, we give you some information about what piece of evidence can possibly be used to show that verifier, yes, I'm doing this every day. And then the final column, the fourth column in the standards table, is the corresponding instrument item. So standards book and self-assessment instrument go hand in hand. The standards book here serves to give you big overviews, big chunky pieces of the standards. The self-assessment instrument breaks down those standards into questions that can be easily answered. So both have individual numbers, standards number column 1, corresponding question in column 4, self-assessment instrument number. Okay, that was a lot of data. Are we good so far? Everybody feeling okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to the self-assessment instrument, the vertically bound book should have a bright gold cover for you. This is everything that you'll answer before your visit. So this encompasses all of the confirmation for NECPA to understand how you're meeting the standards as noted in the standards book. So 14 chapters in the standards book, and we have the same corresponding 14 chapters broken into 2 sections in the self-assessment instrument. So again, part A, dedicated to policies, documentation, procedures, logs, staffing qualifications, training. And then part B of those 14 chapters is the observation portion. So how are you putting those policies and policies into practice? They each have their own distinct color. We refer to part A or documentation as the yellow section, part B, observation as the blue section. And you'll see that reflected in your physical materials. I haven't figured out a clever way to recolor those in the PDF. So it's just part A and part B in the PDF. You'll see sometimes reserved items. Those aren't anything that you need to worry about. It's just if we have additional standards we need to put in there, we have those ready and we're not messing up all the rest of the numbers that are in the instrument. Questions so far on the breakdown of the books or how it goes together?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll go to the next slide. So we're going to dive into the accreditation process itself. Now that we understand what materials we're working with, what the different portions of those materials mean, we'll go through what does self-study mean or enrollment, the phase that you're currently in. What's the next step after that, which is verification and results. And then once you receive your award, and we can go through this today if we have time. If not, no worries. We can always talk about annual reporting and award maintenance later on. So we have this cute little chart. It goes through each of the steps. It's really a 3-step process, but we wanted to be very, specific in the information we give you about what's expected, what's due for each portion. So it's broken into 5, but really it's just 3 steps expected from you to NECPA. Step 1 is enrollment or re-enrollment after you get your award. And that lasts for 2 years. And in those 2 years, the program is in self-study, meaning that you're going to go through all the steps that we talk about in the self-study portion in just a moment. Within those 2 years, you're going to go to step 2, which is requesting your visit. And that signifies to us that you have answered everything in your self-assessment instrument yes, no, or not applicable. And you're ready for us to come out and verify those answers through the documentation that you put together and through those observations. Hand in hand with step 2 is we issue you the results of your visit. So your visit is scheduled within 120 days or 4 months from when you tell us, hey, come on out, I'm ready, let's go. We issue you those results in 60 days of your visit, so within 2 months. So really, the only internal time frame that NECPA has is a maximum of 6 months. Once you receive your award, these 2 steps are pretty much the same. They're just broken up into 2 first annual report and second annual report, two steps, because they are on your first anniversary and then your second anniversary year. NECPA's award is valid for 3 years, and on your second annual report year, you'll start the process again. You'll do re-enrollment, update us on any changes, and we'll come back out and do another visit, and the cycle repeats itself. Yes, I'm ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect, great. All right, what question did you have? I'm sorry, I think it's breaking up again.
What about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. Okay, you mentioned that the internal time frame is 6 months. What's the difference between the internal time frame being 6 months and the 2-year time frame?
Great question. So you can go up to the very last day of your 2-year term. You know, if it takes you 2 years to go through self-study, that's totally fine. We don't want to rush you. We want to encourage you to implement standards and live accreditation before you request your visit. So if you wanted to, honestly, any time during that enrollment period, request your visit, then that 6-month time frame starts. So that clock starts once we receive your visit request and begin scheduling. Did that answer your question all right?
I'm going to give it back to you to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
Yep.
So the 6 months period starts after we request our visitation.
You got it. Yeah.
But
And
before
that's
the
just
2-month learning, basically. Smart.
right. 2 years of implementing standards and ensuring that maintenance is there.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Great question.
I actually do have a question.
Yes.
So those 6 months, what is, I guess I kind of don't understand where in the boxes the 6 months lies, and what is the purpose of waiting 6 months?
So it's not a waiting period, it's just a scheduling period. Maybe what I can do is insert some text here to better clarify. Right here. Okay. So requesting your visit. Step 2, your visit is scheduled within 120 days. So you will have a visit within 4 months of submitting a request to NECPA. So that's the first 4 months. Once your visit's complete, within 2 months, we issue you your results. Most often, we schedule within 70 to 80 days from when you request your visit. And most often, it's within 4 weeks that accreditation results are issued. Unless we are super, super swamped, these things really don't take the full 6 months. It's just the allotted time that we provide to our scheduler and to our council for these steps.
Oh, okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Sorry if something I said was a bit confusing or threw us off. All right. So now we're going to go through step 1 together. So self-study or enrollment. We broke it down into a couple different pieces. So self-study means evaluation, implementation, and documentation. So evaluation of your program, making sure that you are going through each standard, because NECPA is 100%. We look at 100% of your classrooms, your building, if you have extra additional staff, your family resources, community resources, 100% of standards. So using that standards book and resource guide as you go through the instrument is really helpful in case you ever feel lost, because you have those helpful in column 3 of that chart we reviewed, that possible evidence for verification. So if it's a piece of documentation that you're like, what in the world are they asking me to put together? You can go and reference that as part of your self-study. So evaluating what you're currently doing versus what perhaps the slightly different or elevated expectation of that standard may be. You're probably already meeting quite a few standards. That's what we find. You just need to perhaps tweak a couple policies, add some differences, rearrange a classroom to ensure, sight and sound supervision, which of course you're already having to do. And I'm getting ahead of myself because that's implementation, which is step 2. So evaluation is assessing yourself through self-study. Some of the resources we provide, and these are all on our website right now. If you go to necpa.net, NECPA.net, you can download any checklist that you see in the book. So the portion between the resource guide and the standards book has all these good, tasty checklists. And what these do is just give you a jumping off point. So if you needed resources for your daily playground checklist or your injury log, we have a template there that you can utilize as part of your evaluation process. We also have observation checklists. So if you're not quite sure about your staff handbook, what are some policies that are necessary to have ready as part of your overall compliance to that particular standard area. Questions on what evaluation means?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so once you've gone through that evaluation, and that really is as much time as you need within those 2 years, then you go ahead and move on to implementation. So you set your goals, you have your timelines ready, you know what areas that you want to change or make tweaks to meet a particular standard. If you have additional staff to support you at your programs, you might conduct additional training with them based on those checklists and observations that you do, or updating or tweaking a policy to ensure that the required verbiage that's in the standard is now in your handbooks, as well as those observational standards. So we want to ensure that it's just a normal day when we come out and visit with you, right? So those daily practices that you put into place is what we'll be looking for. Yes.
I just want to make a statement. Like I find this very interesting because the whole time frame gives you enough time with implementation to make this second nature to you. So that way, as you've done all you can with the first part, then you take you can take 3 months of actual implementation for when y'all do come by. It's not something that we've just started. It's become second nature to us. So it's not like we have to, we just changed this 2 weeks ago. I'm still trying to get in the ball game of it. No, I like it. That's what I'm trying to say.
I love that. That's really good feedback. Thank you. Because you're right. Rushing into changes and making sure you're living accreditation and that high quality that you want yourselves, is not something that's just a show for a day, because the children are going to give it away. They always do. They say, well, we never do this. So we know, and we want you to take that time to really make the changes you want to see. One of the things we do have ready, again, another free resource to help you with that implementation, and let me zoom in just a little bit, is this accreditation work plan. So it goes, through everything from getting your materials to, if you have additional staff supporting you, introducing it to them, starting your surveys, because we do have parent and staff surveys. Making sure that when you're doing the evaluation, you're taking into account what those initial surveys are also providing to you. So if there's areas that perhaps your parents feel like, we don't really do much parent education, is that something that you can implement and change for them? Is there something for your staff that you want to improve or change? Then you'll go through your classroom compliance areas for your observations, those teacher-child interactions, transitions, things that, are of key importance for us understanding how you move smoothly throughout your day, even when the day itself isn't smooth. So it's not what happens, it's what you do when that happens. Putting together that improvement plan with those resources you may need, the dates to get those resources gathered. For example, perhaps having a formal or informal medical professional relationship isn't something you currently have, and you've identified that through evaluation. So part of implementation might be, okay, I need to call my health department and see what kind of resources they have for me if I need that, and to meet this standard. Then you'll go through putting together your documentation, and we're going to go through that next. And then completing part B. So once your observations are ready, you feel, yes, I can answer yes to each of these observation questions. You'll go through part B, which is step 12. You'll re-survey your families. You'll make sure you'll double check, we always love a good double check that all the questions are answered. And then you'll request your visit. So this work plan goes through getting your book all the way to requesting your visit. And this is in your printed materials. It's in your resource guide today, so you can start filling it out whenever you'd like. If you're a PDF gal like me, you can also, or guy, you can also download it. Questions on the work plan, or keep going?
No.
All right, perfect. So the third step to self-study is documentation. So you have identified through your evaluation areas of which for your policies, procedures, logs, all those goodies, you want to make some adjustments. So we call it the doc box, documentation box, but it can also be a doc binder. It can be a doc electronic filing system, whatever, makes you the most comfortable. So if you're real tech savvy, you want to upload all the documents, or you already have them uploaded, perhaps you use a parent portal for your communications. We want to see all of the items in part A put together in a manner in which it's very easy for our assessor to go through each item and verify the content. Because we want to see, highlighted either in those printed materials or highlighted in those digital files, where in each of these policies that you have the matching standard. So that's really what documentation or constructing your doc box is all about. And that's all related to part A of the self-assessment instrument, or the yellow section. To help you out with documentation, again, oodles of free resources. if you want, you say, oh my gosh, I do not have time to put together a posted hand washing procedure, we got you covered. You can download it, you can slap your logo on it, you can start using it. Do you have to use it? No. We want you to feel empowered though, if you wanted to have a resource ready. Again, all online now, no paywall, nothing. You can go download anything you see for free. Any questions so far on documentation or resources?
Yay, free resources.
Yeah. And if you come across anything where you say, man, I really wish they had so-and-so resource, we have a box, like a contact form, and just let us know what you're looking for, and we're happy to help you out. We also have
Question, since we can't
sure.
scan the QR codes while we're like, let's say on this, these are also in the handbooks, correct?
Yes, they're in the handbooks, and we have the links here in the PowerPoint presentation, so we can put that together for you as an additional resource.
Thank you.
No problem. If there's anything that I've overlooked in today's presentation, or if you have more questions, or if you're ready to go to the next step and learn more about what the visit looks like, we also have our how-to videos. So learn from an expert is what they're called. We have everything from what in the world is the standards book to requesting your visit, going through each portion of the resource guide more in depth than I did today. Introduction to self-study, enrollment, everything's here. And if there's a video you wish we had, just let us know, and that's something we're happy to work on. All right, so you have successfully completed self-study. Congratulations, woohoo! It's time to request your visit. And here is where that timetable comes in. So this, again, is a resource in your book that you currently have with you. It's our scheduling results timetable. So what is your goal to having your results in hand? What is that date? And you can work backwards based off this chart to see when you need to request your visit. So if you wanted to receive your results by the end of the year, December 31st, you would need to request your visit by June 30th to account for that scheduling time frame and the results time frame. We hope this takes some of that guesswork out of it for you. So the verification process consists of two
I'm
things.
so sorry, Storm, can you go back to that slide real quick?
Yeah, happy to.
So where are we at right now? Is this for the new program year? July 31st?
This is just we start in January and we go through December. And it really is whenever you choose, and it's program by program. So perhaps, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We don't work in like cohorts or anything. We don't have quarters, we don't schedule by anything but your particular visit request. That's what we base off our scheduling. So whenever the program requested, that's when the clock starts for us.
Okay. So if we all decided, for example, to request our visits in October, we would expect to have it for sure by next April?
You would have result in hand by April. Yeah.
Oh, got it. And then the visit would happen by August 31st?
The visit would happen no later than February. So you request in October, you have November, December, January, and by the end of February, max is when your visit would be scheduled. And then 2 months from that February date, so March and April, the very latest, April 30th, you'd have it.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I was reading it backwards. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'm realizing down here this is a little funky, so yes.
Do we have a date in which we know when the 2-year process started?
It's reflected in the enrollment letter that you received in the mail with your materials, but we can provide a chart to you, or if you'd like it in an email, we can follow up.
Email would be great.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Yes, if I can get an email as well, that'll be appreciated.
Oh, you know what? It is in your email. we send everybody a PDF of the letter, of the self-assessment instrument, the standards book, but I'm going to follow up just so you have it top of box.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. And dates. Okay, just writing it down. All right. Any other timeline questions? Okay. Perfect. We have a whole presentation that we can do specific to verification. So when you guys are getting closer to requesting your visit, we can do that. Or if you wanted to do it in the the next session, always happy to do that. But I did provide both presentations to Sarah as a resource for you, so you'll have that ready whenever you want to review it. So the verification consists of 2 steps. Classroom observations really is just the 2 parts of your book. So part A, documentation, and part B, observation. So we want to be a guest at your program. We will tell you what day your visit is. It's not a guessing game of will they come today, will they come tomorrow. We let you know at least 2 weeks in advance. We call you at least 48 hours in advance, your particular verifier, to introduce themselves, make sure they understand the setup for your program, what time they should arrive to see some drop-off. They'll ask if you have a school-age program, just to plan their day. What time should they leave by, to make sure that they see all those age groups that you serve. Once they get there, they'll take a tour of your program with you. If you have additional staff members or additional classrooms, they'll go through each of those areas just to make sure that they're familiar with it. And then they'll start by requesting your book and making sure, again, all those questions are answered. So the most critical thing, we don't know your answers. You have to answer each of those questions, yes, no, or not applicable. And then we use, right underneath that, you'll see in bold, verification with a V or an NV. So they'll go through every single one of those questions as they go throughout the day, looking at your documentation and doing observations all day. It's usually 6 to 8 hours that we're with you. If you had multiple locations, or if you had a super giant program, it might be more than 1 day. Or we would send 2 verifiers. At the end of the day, there's also an opportunity if for whatever reason there is an item that's not verified on that day. There's an opportunity for you to provide your comments. And the back of each of those sections, the yellow and the blue, if you go almost to the next section, you'll see comments. And it'll be the item number, the specific observation from the verifier, and then your opportunity. So it's a 2-sided puzzle. We want the whole picture. We want to know, is this an unusual occurrence? What does some training look like? Tell me why that piece of policy is missing. So it's a full conversation. All of that is packaged in front of you, the surveys that you have ready for your staff and parents, and a copy of your license. That all goes back to the NECPA office. It's profiled and reviewed by our council. Before I keep going into council results, what questions do you have about verification?
Don't have it.
Oh, I missed it. Can you say it again?
I was just saying I don't have any questions.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I know that was high level. And we have a full, 45 minutes to an hour presentation that I'm very happy to give on that. So once the material is complete, the self-assessment is Verified, non-verified, you've had an opportunity to make any comments should there be some. All that goes together in a profile. And the National Accreditation Council reviews the results, and the NECPA office issues the results to you via email. So fully accredited, we've got 3 different results. Fully accredited means you receive your award after the initial visit for 3 years. Pending means, okay, tell us a little bit more via documentation about a standard that was non-verified the day of your visit. You'll email that over. You have a 3-month period to provide that documentation to us. And then once we see that you are in compliance via that documentation, you receive that accreditation. Deferred can be one of 2 results. Deferred with items means there was a severe noncompliance that can be verified via documentation. In most instances, it has to do with policies and procedures not being ready on the day of the visit. So having a really well labeled documentation box, everything ready for the verifier to review on the day of the visit is critical. That's why we give you the labels. We want you to be successful in putting that information together in a way in which they can easily understand it. The other side of that is deferred with the revisit. And that's when we weren't able to see something that must be observed. So an item that had to be verified through observation was either non-verified or unable to be observed. And we'll come back out and spend a portion of a day with you just verifying those particular items. Any questions so far on results?
Yes. Are there any criterion or observation, like you were saying, if it's not seen in the first visit, you'll come back out? Are any of those criteria non-applicable? Or would it depend on the place itself?
Is the question the item itself could be not applicable and we would want to come back out? Oh, I see. Okay. No. There's not an instance where, for example, you don't have infants. We have an entire section specific to young infant toddler care. And if you don't have infants, it's not penalized. There's not, nothing counts against you. It's just not something you do. You don't own your playground. You don't have a playground on site. We have an entire section dedicated to that. You'd say, no, I don't have a playground. It's not applicable to me. But if you use a community playground, those items are applicable. And we would need to observe you at that community playground in your daily normal routine. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like generally not applicable or could be in instances, but and it's an observation. I think those are the 2 major ones that I've seen before. Really good question. I hope I answered it. Did I answer it okay for you? Oh, perfect. Okay. Good.
So, Storm, real quick, just a real quick wrap up. So if an item is not observed, the provider is not questioned about it. They put not observed, and then they'll see that later in the evaluation.
Right. There's some instances where, and again, because it's we try to be as personable in this process as we can be, without disrupting your day. We want to see just a normal day, so we don't want to be interrupting you all the time and asking for clarification. If it's something that can be easily clarified while we're in the classroom, for example, a good one is you have a cabinet open and we can't see the daily playground checklist because it's behind that cabinet. Perhaps the verifier would say to you, while you're not interacting one-on-one with a child, do you have a posted daily playground checklist? And then you could say, oh, here it is. It's right here. I'm going to move it so it's not blocked by this cabinet. There are instances like that where we encourage, clarification if available and it's non-disruptive. You will always have an opportunity at the end of the visit to provide those comments. And if there's something that can be corrected on site, we encourage the verifier to allow that. So if, for example, that one I just gave, oh, let me go show you in the classroom, it's right here, and I've moved it. They won't change their answer. It'll still be non-verified, but they'll note corrected at exit interview. I know that was a big, long explanation. I hope that helped.
Would that require them to come back out if they've noted that it was addressed at that on site?
For that particular standard, no. It depends on the standard. There are
what
key
it actually
items.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. But if it's a simple, oh, I have that policy. I did, I meant to make a copy of it and I didn't get to it. Let me show you the policy. Those are things that can be corrected on site. We don't want the verifier spending, quite a long time as you gather materials that should have been ready for documentation review. But if it's something, that can be easily corrected, we're happy to do so.
Is there a process within this process that allows us to validate that we have all of the paperwork before they come out? And, just different programs structured differently, or is it just kind of on us to make sure that we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's before they come?
It's part of that evaluation process. So really going through the materials that you're putting together in your documentation box and taking your time with it. Because we want you to be the expert about the standards at your program and how you have implemented them in your particular unique way. So we're happy to, if you're, stuck on something or you wanted us to clarify how a particular standard should be met, we're happy to do that. That's part of your enrollment. That's part of your self-study. You get ongoing support from our team. You can just let us know. Can you clarify if this policy or if this qualification meets your needs?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
I have a question attached to that. So if I know during the process of the self-study or an evaluation, do y'all come out prior to the visit if requested, or is it just like, through email or talk like, hey, this is like this, will that be sufficient?
Coming out in person isn't a service we offer included in the enrollment. There is, we do have consultants. We do have unique fees that can be paid, but it is a paid service specific to that request. We provide phone support and email support currently included with enrollment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. All right.
Hey, I'm sorry, just for clarification. So the consultants are available, but we may need to pay for them separately. Is that what I understood?
So there are third-party consultants outside of NECPA that help with accreditation. We are also working with Sarah to train her, to really understand in-depthly what the accreditation standards mean and how to implement them. I'm not sure, Sarah, and perhaps you can answer that better. Is there any part of the grant work that provides that additional layer of support, or that comes directly from your team, Sarah?
I think we can definitely embed that into our services that we're going to provide for the providers as we go through the process, because as we listen to this presentation, that is super critical, and that would be such a plus for all of us. So I will definitely recollect and come back with my team and let them know that that would be an essential part of this, because we're all requesting it. So I'm sure we can totally accommodate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Good questions. So the rest of this presentation, I know we got 6 minutes left, is going through the award maintenance and then some fun accreditation secrets. So what are you already doing to achieve standards? How can you achieve accreditation in a straightforward manner? As well as marketing your high quality program. Some of these pictures are some of my favorite. I love this one. There's also helpful handouts at the end of this, checklists and toolkits that aren't included in your materials that you have now. So it's a great resource for you to understand common mistakes during the process itself of becoming accredited and top 5 things verifiers are looking for. Of course, they're going to look at absolutely everything standard-wise, but just a high-level area. And I think that's all the goodies I have for you. Put this guy up just in case you wanted to write anything down or schedule a follow-up with us, but I'll go ahead and turn my video back on, and then if we wanted to chat for the last 5 minutes, happy to do so.
Thank you so much, Storm. This has been so helpful. I mean, it's so thorough. I think it gives us all a better sense of what we need to face and how we need to prepare. I'm going to open up for Q&A for anybody who has any questions. Our last 5 minutes before I stop our recording. I don't want to go over the time here for the sake of everybody's schedules.
I just want to say thank you for your time and for putting these resources together for us to kind of help better our centers. And again, truly appreciate you both.
Thank you for taking on this adventure with us. We really appreciate all the services that you're providing to your community. And if there's something we can do to help you meet a goal, just let us know.
Awesome.
I just want to ditto Jocelyn as well. It was a very well presented presentation with a lot of information that was definitely applicable to what we're trying to do, trying to be the best.
Yeah,
the Sarah and tutors, because this is definitely something that's helping providers. I did want to also ask when if this recording would be emailed to us, or is there a place where we can go download it or look at it?
Yes, I'm gonna save this recording and I'll send it to everybody through email, as well as the PowerPoint and a couple of other wonderful training items that Storm provided to me via email. I'll send that off this evening, so everybody has it, so we can start reviewing and planning for our next meeting and starting our process.
Perfect. And we're always happy to come back if you need another presentation on a particular standard or chapter, whatever you need to get going. Yes.
I did have one more question. Is there a minimum child ratio needed for this process?
Let me go ahead and I'll stop screen sharing and I'll pull the book up because that's a great, very specific question. I don't want to misquote. So NECPA will defer to your state ratios if high quality teacher-child interaction is occurring. Let me go ahead and I'll pull up our ratio chart. Because we look for, our goal is developmentally appropriate teacher-to-child ratios. So if you're able to sustain that by using your by using your state's ratios, that will meet our criteria. So pages 13 and 14 of your standards book. And that note I just went through is right under here on page 14, top of page 14 of the standards book.
Thank you.
Oh. All right, Miss Sarah, well, if there's nothing else, if you wanted to go ahead and wrap us up, that sounds great.